Greetings, my name is Chamomile, and this is an exploration of the entire galaxy sector by sector. Today, we're talking about the Torranix Sector in 6 Black Sword Command. If you've heard of Torranix Sector, it's because you've heard of planet Galand. That's right, the one with freeways that encircle the entire equator. Pack up the whole series, we found the best planet. Real talk, if you've heard of Torranix Sector, it's because you've heard of either Chalceddy or Frisia, both moderately important planets in the Galactic Civil War. Chalceddy is the sector's main trade hub, the crossroads of the Ag Circuit that feeds Coruscant, and the Metelos trade route that tethers the Cornac cluster to Coruscant. It's the gateway to the Negs, the border between the core you think of when you hear someone say Core World, and the part of the galaxy where Yvetha do genocide and the New Republic doesn't even hear about it for a week. 6 Black Sword's main industrial base was deeper into the Cornac cluster, but their forces were mainly used to reinforce the Republic-turned-Empire elsewhere in the galaxy during both the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. Like, when Imperial forces were massing ships to intercept the Rebel fleet before they reached Coruscant, they pulled a lot of ships from 6 Black Sword and the Negs because the whole Imperial military kind of thought of the Negs as a storehouse for extra Star Destroyers, and all those Star Destroyers passed through Chalceddy. There's a story about Kyle Katarn infiltrating the planet to get intel on the Dark Trooper Project, and the Dark Trooper Project was built in the Outer Rim, so that's kind of weird at first glance, but it's not actually that unreasonable because 6th Black Sword ships and troops got sent all over the galaxy anywhere reinforcements were needed. If you wanted intel on basically any Imperial project, a good place to start would be to infiltrate Chalceddy and snoop around for where the troops are being sent. Frisia is an ocean planet with a day that lasts over 500 hours, which is more than 3 weeks in Galactic Standard Time. It's a mostly oceanic world full of beautiful tropical beaches and basically devoid of arable farmland. Incom used the planet as an engineering and prototyping center for their snub fighters. See, Frisia looks beautiful and has great weather, so throw up some nice housing, a school for the kids, and a cantina, and it's a pretty good place for engineers and mechanics to live. The lack of any natural resources means that there's not a whole lot of competition for real estate, and while you do have to import all your materials for prototyping, only the first production run would be made on Frisia, and after that the designs would be sent to someplace like Kuat for mass production. And sure, Frisia is technically in the Negs, but it's trailing from Chalceddy towards Coruscant, so if the Chiss or the Yvetha or something come crawling up out of the unknown regions, Frisia will have pretty much all of 6th Black Sword fleet standing between them and the invaders, so it's not at all dangerous like you'd expect from the Negs. Incom makes the T-16 Skyhopper you flew as a teenager, the T-47 Airspeeder made famous on Hoth, the Z-95 Headhunter that pirates love because it's great for how cheap it is, and, of course, the T-65B X-Wing that Rebels love because they're great for how expensive they are, and also the Rebels got a bunch of them for free because a bunch of Incom engineers defected and helped the Rebels steal a ton of X-Wings from Frisia. Emperor Palpatine passed on the X-Wing in favor of the cheaper TIE Fighter because he was still trying to get the Empire up to about 6,000 Star Destroyers, enough to have 6 in every single sector fleet. That was always bonkers, and the Empire never even got close, but Palpatine wanted to control the galaxy directly through Stormtroopers and Star Destroyers, and Coruscant had the spare population to make the Stormtroopers happen. It was only the lack of ships that was standing in his way, and that meant he wanted to pump out lots of cheap ships quickly. The X-Wing was exactly the wrong ship for that mission. Sure, it's cheap considering how many TIE fighters it can take on and the fact that it usually survives to get repaired, whereas TIE fighters explode if you swear at them loudly enough. But if your goal is to have many fighters that can all split up to patrol a planet, then the X-Wing's problem is that you could make 5 TIE fighters for every 1 X-Wing, and even if that X-Wing is faster, more heavily armed, more heavily shielded, and hyperspace capable, it can still only be in one place at a time. None of the defecting Incom engineers ever came out and said they defected in revenge for their high-tech masterpiece being passed over, in favor of a fighter whose engineering brilliance was bent exclusively towards cutting costs, but, I mean, would you expect them to admit that? Maybe they planned to defect for years and were just waiting until the first main production run of the X-Wing was complete, so there would be a large batch for the Rebels to steal. But I'll bet the reason they defected when they did is because that's when Palpatine picked Synar's TIE Fighter over Incom's X-Wing, and some of the Incom engineers knew the X-Wing would tear the TIE Fighter up if it ever got the chance, and conspired to make sure that happened.